For more on this story, we now cross to SABC News Correspondent Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow. A very good morning to you, Dasha. Thank you so much for joining us. What have you heard so far? Has there been any official confirmation of Yevgeny's death?
Well, what we have heard was the confirmation from Russia's aviation agency, Rosaviatsia, that Yevgeny Prigozhin was indeed on board of that plane, as long as with other passengers. The total of 10 people are believed to have died in this plane crash, 3 crew members and 7 passengers. Now, the big question was, of course, whether Yevgeny Prigozhin has actually boarded that plane. Rosaviatsia has confirmed this information. We also have seen people paying tributes in St. Petersburg, bringing flowers to the Wagner Center building. And this building itself overnight lighting up the windows in the shape of the cross in memory of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner PMC, as well as Dmitry Utkin, the co-founder of PMC Wagner. The big question now is, of course, what happens next to this Wagner Group and what has led to the crash of the plane that has good history of safety, according to the most recent reports. So there are many questions indeed in Russia. The investigative committee is now working on the scene of this plane crash. We understand they have been working overnight. Some parts of the debris of the plane have been recovered about 2 kilometers from the area where the plane has crashed, and the flight radar data that has been circulating in the Russian media is suggesting that over the course of 30 seconds, the plane that was allegedly carrying Yevgeny Prigozhin on board has lost about 2.4 kilometers of the altitude in a matter of 30 seconds and stabilized and then started to crash. So indeed, many questions. The investigation is looking in all possible options, and we're yet to hear for the Kremlin's reaction to what has happened in the Tver region, which is halfway between the 2 largest cities of Russia, Moscow and St. Petersburg.
You know, Dasha, the world over has reacted with shock at the latest developments. But of particular interest is the comments made by US President Joe Biden, who seemed to strongly suggest President Putin's involvement in Prigozhin's death. In fact, I'm going to quote him verbatim. He says that there's not much that happens in Russia that Putin's not behind. So how likely will this comment stoke tensions?
Well, Moscow is used to having some comments from the United States, and Moscow has gotten used to not react to any of those statements. At the same time, again, if you look at the reaction of the Russians, they are not excluding any option. The most popular ones that are being discussed among the Russians, among whom actually Yevgeny Prigozhin has been enjoying certain popularity and was seen indeed as a patriot of the country, even though he started that aborted mutiny exactly 2 months ago. They are talking about the possible Ukrainian trace. They are talking about the possibility of revenge. But also the version that many people are now discussing is if this was all staged for the reason to allow Yevgeny Prigozhin to escape from the public eye, because ever since the aborted mutiny on the 23rd and 24th of June, Yevgeny Prigozhin was no longer active in Ukraine. His Wagner Group was forced to move to Belarus, and they were building up their positions there. Yevgeny Prigozhin himself has apparently been a free man. He was spotted both in Russia and Belarus, and also some videos that have been posted most recently have shown him being actually in Africa, saying that he was going to new missions there. So certainly there are many options on the table, and they are all being considered. But again, we are yet to hear for the official confirmation from the Russian authorities as to what they say has led to the plane crash in the Tver region.
All right, Dasha, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your update.